Hi everybody, John back again. I've just watched a video posted by Larry Graves, the Canadian Studmuffin. Larry's not really well, I don't believe he's anything to do with the vinyl community. But he has a sort of a vlog that I followed for a while, where he talks pretty much about his music interests. He listens to CDs. I don't think I've ever seen him show a record before. So he talks a lot about his music, and occasionally he talks about his love life with Molly. I'll have to say, he delivers some really high quality entertainment. If you haven't seen his channel, go check it out. I'll leave a little card up here for you to go and find the video that I've just watched. So in this particular video he spoke about his first 10 vinyl records, so the first 10 albums that he got on vinyl right from the beginning when he was a child. And I thought that was quite an interesting idea. It's quite an interesting concept. I think most of us can remember our first record, possibly even the second. I don't know about you, but I can remember roughly the order in which I got perhaps my first 10, but it's a bit fuzzy. And I'm going to show my first 10 records on vinyl. So these are mine, because I was the youngest of 7 siblings, and all my other siblings were much older than me, and so their records were in and around the house, so I would have listened to those too. But the ones I'm going to show now are the ones that are actually mine, that actually belong to me. Also at the time, cassettes. I had cassettes too, and so I had to really think, that album, did I have it on vinyl or cassette? That sort of thing. And the CDs came out a little bit later, but I think many of these I would have got before CDs, or before I had CDs anyway. Okay, so my very first record, I've shown this on my introduction video. This is Changes One by David Bowie. This is the actual copy that I got, given to me by my sister on my 13th birthday. In many ways, it's a little bit sad to say this, but in many ways, I've often said that every record that I've bought after this has basically been my attempt to recreate the joy that I got from this first record. I don't listen to it much these days. In fact, I seldom play David Bowie. I played him a lot in my youth. But it's a great record. And I think, pretty solid place for a young kid to start. So that was my first record. Shortly after that was this. So this is Tonight. It's not regarded as one of David Bowie's finest records at all. I mean, even I'm and ah about it. It's got some good tracks on it, and I've been obviously, what's the word I'm looking for? No, it'll come to me later. But I've stuck with this record. Determined. I've been determined. That's the word I was looking for. To crack this record and sort of get to the point where I enjoy it. And yeah, I got some of the way there, and I enjoyed playing it. But it's not his best record, is it really? I liked Billie Jean when that came out, and I think I bought the 7-inch single, and the video was amazing. I really like Loving the Alien. But yeah, so this was my second record, and David Bowie really featured heavily in my. I mean, I was fanatical like a kid when all this was happening. So everything I was sort of interested in was David Bowie right from the start. Okay, so I asked my eldest brother, Royston, for a birthday. I think he asked me what I'd like for a birthday present, and I asked him for this. Some boys at school have been talking about Duran Duran, and I was intrigued, really intrigued. And as you know, in those days, it wasn't unusual that someone would make you a cassette, like a mixtape, you know. And there was a good friend of mine called Duran at school, whose sister had a lot of Duran Duran 12 inches and things, and he used to make me some amazing mixed cassettes. And I thought, yeah, Dad, I've really got to get into Duran Duran, I've really got to do that. So I asked my brother if he would get this particular album for my birthday, which he did, and I think he did it kind of begrudgingly, because he was, you know, he's much older than me, and yeah, I mean, they're kind of seen as sort of a teeny band, a teeny bop band. I don't think they are or were, certainly not now anyway, but in those days they were sort of very trendy, very fashionable and very popular with the kids, and my brother, being much older, probably didn't really like the experience of going in a record shop to buy this, but he did, and yeah, I was really happy to get this. Yeah, so I like it. I like the record. It had a big influence on the way my listening sort of also went from this point. The same brother that gave me the Duran Duran album also gave me this. This is Alchemy by Dire Straits. And when he gave me this, it was kind of like, oh wow, beautiful, beautiful sort of artwork. It's a sort of double album. And it's a live album too. And it's not only that, it's a live album, and some of the songs are quite, you know, extended and complex. They're technically not progressive rock, but yeah, some of the songs had sort of complex structures that you could expect in a progressive rock band. And I had this for a long time, and again, I had to persevere with this because it was, yeah, I was young. I liked 3-4 minute catchy pop songs with hooks in that, you know, you get in a Bowie song or whatever. And yeah, this one I really had to sort of press on with, but I got there, and yeah, played the hell out of this. Great. Now my other brother, D, he used to come and go. You know, he did a lot of this sort of backpacking around Europe and Australia, and spent time on the kibbutz in Israel and the Mishav and that sort of stuff. And I can't remember exactly where he'd gone or where he'd come back from, but he came back, and it was my birthday. You know, how was I, 14 maybe by this point, and yeah, he'd missed my birthday, so he just gave me some money. I think he gave me a tenner, and said, there you go and buy yourself a record if you like. So that was kind of good. Took myself into my hometown, to our price, and I snapped up this David Bowie, Ziggy, Stardust and the Motion Picture. Now don't forget, this was before the internet, so if you wanted to get information, it wasn't so easy to get, and it confused me. I couldn't understand, because it was like obvious that this was a sort of David Bowie from before Ziggy Stardust stage, but I didn't know at that time that this had only just been released recently when I bought this. Because the point is, it was recorded. When was this recorded? Way back when, but it was only released in '83. And so it was a fairly new record then when I bought it. And yeah, live albums, you know, if you're not used to them, they can be a bit rough and ready, can't they? I mean, there's a beauty in live albums, which I really like. But at the time, especially as well with the Dire Straits, it took me a while to kind of just get past this sort of, oh, what's all that noise? Why are people clapping? All that sort of stuff. Anyway, at the same time as I bought this, I also bought the 10-inch sort of mini album. I can't remember what it's called now. I haven't included it in this list because, well, I've shown a lot of David Bowie and I want to show some other things. So that was that. Then, yeah, car boot sales. Now they only just started happening in the 80s. They sort of, you know, became popular then. I don't think people had car boot sales before that. in Britain. And one of the very first records I got from a car boot sale was this. I've shown this before. It's Who Do We Think We Are by Deep Purple. I was quite interested in this record. I remember buying it and stumbling home through the rural part of the village where I'm from, trying to get home and to listen to this. I'd heard of Deep Purple. I knew that they were supposed to be some sort of heavy rock band, but so I felt a little bit intimidated by this. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was gonna, you know, if it was gonna make me turn evil or something once I've played it. And when I put it on, it was good. I liked it. Perhaps not their most popular album, but Woman from Tokyo, it starts off so well and it sounds so great. I mean, even on my record player that I had at home, it sounded really, really good. And yeah, so that was perhaps one of the first records I actually bought for myself, I think, with my own money from a car boot sale. From the same car boot sale but a different date, I come home with this. This is Robin Trower. I always remember the man. I was, you know, because in those days, records for sale at car boot sales, because yes, CDs had come out and people were sort of going out buying CDs and CD players, getting rid of their records basically. And the man said, "Oh, there's some Robin Trower over there in that pile if you fancy a bit of heavy." That went right over my head. First, I didn't know who Robin Trower was, and a bit of heavy. I was kind of new to listening to music, so yeah, I didn't really know what that term was sort of meant, you know, to mean. So, and once he'd said that and nodded over there to that pile, I felt obliged that I should go over there and buy something by Robin Trower, which is what I did. I can't really say that I listened to it very much. Yeah, it was probably a bit too out there for me at that early stage. But hey, I've had this since then. Around about this time, it wasn't unusual to see adverts in magazines and things like that, sort of advertising mail order music. And they would have these deals, you know. You can order 3 or 4 albums or cassettes and you get one free, and then they'll send you one every month that you can send back if you don't want to buy it, all this sort of, you know, kind of stuff. And as a young kid, I just couldn't resist that. Oh wow, brilliant, I get a free album. So I sort of maybe 2 or 3 times probably signed up to similar deals, and they hook you though, because once you've sort of signed up to that, then they keep on sending stuff to you. And you know, when you're a teenager, you don't have the kind of money just to buy a record every month or whatever it was. And so these things used to come, and my mum used to get quite cross, and she used to even call up these mail order companies and say, "Stop sending things to my son." But anyway, on one of those occasions, a record that I chose from this mail order thing was this Debbie Harry album. And it came, I mean, I like Debbie Harry because, you know, my brother had Blondie records, and you know, she was on Top of the Pops every other day at the time, I think, as well. So I was quite happy to get this. I ordered it, and I remember it's the first time a record had come through the post. It seemed so novel at the time, but in actual fact what happened is this came through the post, and yeah, too big to fit through the post letterbox and the door, and nobody was at home when the postman came, so we got a little note saying, you know, your package is at the post office. Now where I lived, the post office was all the way into town, so it meant getting in a car, driving. I remember it seemed to be like 5 o'clock or something like that on a Friday, chock-a-block, all the way through to the big post office, and I didn't really know what it was until I got it, and then I went, oh yeah, I remember, I ordered that. It's not a brilliant album, I must say. There's some good tracks on there, but there's a lot of filler, and I think, you know, essentially it was, you know, Blondie weren't doing anything, and it was Debbie Harry's sort of, you know, maybe comeback record or whatever. It's okay, but yeah, I wouldn't buy it now in hindsight. There you go. Youngest sister Heidi, she had a boyfriend who had a big box of records. I've spoken about this before, about him before, and yeah, I was, you know, spoke a lot about Mark Knopfler and guitar playing and things like that, and particularly Mark Knopfler. And this guy, he heard me speaking about this all the time, and he come round once with a record for me. And it was really nice, incredible really, when I think back to it. And it was this, Electric Ladyland. I was quite young when he came round with this, I think maybe, I don't know, 14, 15. He said, you know, you like guitar players, you want to listen to this chap. And I didn't know what I was getting into or anything like that, but wow, you know, this totally blew my mind. Anyone that knows Jimi Hendrix and knows this particular album, it's phenomenal. It's such a fantastic record. There are so many amazing pieces on this double album, and yeah, at the time it's like, oh wow, naked ladies on the record cover. It felt a bit special. It felt a bit like privilege, because, you know, this boyfriend come round and gave this to me, and completely, you know, unsolicited. It was very nice of him, and I think now just how different things could be if he hadn't have given this to me when he did, because it really sort of ignited my interest in rock music and broke this sort of boundaries of listening to music that wasn't just like happening there in the 80s, but, you know, what was going on in the very late 60s, and you know, it was really good. So I'm really happy to have this, and it was a great record to have very, very early on. Now, because of the again, the guitar, you know, infatuation, and at the time I think I was having guitar lessons, and I never really did get any good, but there was all this talk with Dire Straits about Eric Clapton, and Eric Clapton, I think with Dire Straits sort of having this popularity in a guitar-driven sort of radio rock band, a lot of people were sort of, yeah, sticking their heads up saying, oh, we could get in on this, and a lot of people that perhaps had been has-beens were sort of finding a channel to come back a little bit, and Eric Clapton was one of those, I believe, because he'd made some pretty poor records. Not that I've ever listened to them, but the reviews they get are appalling. But then this came out. He did a single called Behind the Mask. Bought the single, really liked it, and yeah, people were saying, oh, Eric Clapton, a great guitar player. And I think he was winning awards as well on the television at the time for sort of lifetime achievements or whatever, something like that. So I thought, well, got to get that album. So I actually went out and bought this for myself, and it wasn't quite what I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be, you know, up there with, you know, complex guitar playing, and it's not really, is it? I don't know, stick my neck out in here and say that I don't rate Eric Clapton as highly as many people do. I guess he was important for his scene, and not to say that he's a bad, you know, musician or anything like that, but personally I just don't rate his music particularly great. I've got a soft spot for this record though, because yeah, I bought it myself, I invested in it, and again I persevered with it until I knew it back to front. You know, in those days when you didn't have so many records, maybe you got a few, and you had all the time in the world to listen to things, I really did sort of give this one a good go. Got my money's worth with it, and it's one of those ones, like all of these actually, except the Robin Trowell maybe. If I put it on now, it feels like I just listened to this yesterday, because I know it so intimately, all the little, you know, intricacies in the songs. Yeah, it's for me, it's one of those records. And the last one I'm going to show now here is Steve McQueen. I got this in the sixth form, so I would have been 16 at this point. I don't remember how or why. Somebody just gave it to me. I think it was my friend Daniel, who I went to school with. Can't believe that he would have just given it to me, but that's where it came from, and I've had it ever since. And I guess he never really asked for it back, I don't know. Yeah, it's an amazing record. Again, very fortunate that I got this when I did, because it's you know, it's really, I'm just come 85. It really sort of again set a new bar for me to listen out for, sort of a different type of music, not really independent, but it wasn't sort of teeny bop music, and it wasn't music from the past. It was music happening pretty much there and then, and it was popular. And but it wasn't sort of kid popular. It was a bit more intellectual and grown up popular. Yeah, so there you go. That's my, I think, my first 10 albums that I got on vinyl. I hope that was interesting. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Go check out Larry Graves' channel, the Canadian Studmuffin, and also come back and check out my next video. Thanks very much. Bye.